Oh, geez.
Hello and welcome to a live stream Seismic Cinema podcast. So put your feet up on the Alderaanian trees, grab this year's #1 selling toy for Christmas, and get ready to bask in the glory of Ewan McGregor for one final podcast. Well, maybe, you never know. There might be another one day.
Jeez, you've had way too much time to think about that intro.
Well, it happens when you're waiting Paul's laptop booting up.
Honestly, I think it's like 200 years old.
So, as always, we're joined by Paul, nicknamed Baru, today, and we are joined by Ryan from Thoughts About Star Wars as well.
Who didn't pick a good nickname, apparently. So we're good.
I think you did that. I think you did that the last time as well.
Yeah, I probably did.
That's all right. Well, it's good to have you on again.
Thanks for having me. Sorry about last week. You know, sometimes stuff happens that, you know, can't control. So yeah. I'm happy to be on this week.
No, I'm glad to have you on. Mm-hmm. So the purpose of this podcast is to get back in the ranking game. It's been a while, Paul. I can't even remember what the last ranking was. Can you?
Was it not the Star Wars one, Ryan? No,
I think it was your Marvel one.
Yeah, we did an MCU one as well.
God, Ryan, those I
tried.
I think doing the podcast once a week actually makes me forget some of the ones we've done in the past.
Yeah, all our heavy hitters that get about 5 years.
Well, thank you for everyone who checked out our review of part 6. It actually hit 30 views on YouTube today, which I'm quite chuffed with.
Yeah, it was a bit of a slow starter.
So, also getting back in the ranking game, this is the first time I've been in my podcast room for a few weeks because we've been recording so late at night that I've been wanting to record it in my bed, so I'm ready to go to sleep right away.
You've got a podcast room?
Yeah, this room, the games room.
Oh, I'm just in my bedroom
with my posters and stuff. So,
have you got cool posters in the background too, Ryan?
What's that?
Have you got cool posters in the background as well?
Yeah, I got various posters, sports memorabilia, all that stuff. It's kind of a cluster down here.
Oh man, I really need to step up my game.
Of course, you always need posters.
Did you not have that blanket you were going to put up behind you?
What's that?
Yeah.
Paul had a Star Wars blanket or something he was going to put up.
A baby cult that I picked up from Ginny and Baz finest.
We got a free promotion for a local business there.
Yes, needlecraft. That's what they do, and they're good at it.
Hello to our solitary viewer, whoever you may be.
Yeah, this is where the disappointment comes at time when.
Two viewers now. 2 viewers.
Let me see. I'm gonna retweet this too, just because I didn't do that.
We should probably. We should probably get back in. We should probably get into doing what the purpose was in terms of the ranking. So there's 6 episodes. By the way, just a big want to point out that this will be a spoiler review for the whole series, and we'll also obviously be giving our thoughts on the series as a whole. So there are 6 episodes. They do refer to them as parts rather than episodes. But I didn't want to say Obi-Wan Kenobi part ranking. It sounded like we started doing it, then abandoned it. So I just went with the episode ranking as the title.
Sounds good. Yep. So are you going to do a brief run through of them all, and then we'll do a ranking?
Do you want to do it together, or do you want me just to do it?
Do one each.
Yeah. Okay. We had 4 viewers for a wee second there, then 2 disappeared. So thank you to the 2 that stayed. Right. I'm in the top left on my screen. So part 1 is the intro episode. We catch up with Obi-Wan on Tatooine. We get introduced to in live action to the Inquisitors. We take a visit to Alderaan. Leia gets kidnapped by the guy from the Red Hot Chili Peppers. Is that right?
Yep, Flea.
And Bail Organa pleads Obi-Wan to go and save Leia. Ryan, can you remind us what part 2 is?
Okay, so part 2, I can't remember the name of the planet if I suck at names. But
we remember this with Dayu, yeah.
Dayu, yeah. Okay, so he goes to Dayu and he's trying to get Leia back. He meets Haja, I think his name was, right?
Yeah.
The fake Jedi, and then gets Leia back. He finds out at the end that Anakin's still alive as Vader.
Is that you playing it in the background?
Yeah, I was just trying to get it working.
Part
Spoiler.
3 was they've escaped Dayu, and they meet the part of the resistance in it, or the early kind of resistance, and they learn about the path. And we, I don't want to spoil it straight off the bat, but yeah, some big stuff happens in the town. So part 3, and Leia gets kidnapped again.
Well, this is a spoiler review, so we're just really reminding everyone what episode is which, so you can spoil it what you want.
Vader appears, snaps some necks, does some things.
Okay. So back to me. Part 4, Obi-Wan is a bit battered and bruised. He goes for a space bath, and then he goes to the planet from Jedi Fallen Order to rescue Leia, who's getting interrogated. There's lots of water. Obi-Wan starts using the Force again. There's some poor disguises, and Vader gets a wee bit angry, but also a wee bit, what's the word, forgiving at the same time.
All right, so episode 5 is hold on. Okay, so Obi-Wan's on the run with the refugees, and Vader has probably one of the best fights I would say I've ever seen in Star Wars, and Reva gets stabbed, and it kind of leaves us off with a cliffhanger for episode 6.
And that's the finale, where we have the big epic showdowns and all the closure from all the different characters. So we'll probably discuss that once we get into our rankings more. So yeah, that was all the parts. That's pretty good. So who's want to kick? Is it Ryan? You want to kick off? Guest pick first.
Sure. So we're going 6-1, right?
6-1.
All right. Let me pull up my notes here. Okay.
You got notes.
What's that?
You got notes.
Well, I just the numbers so I don't forget the order of where I rank them.
Paul wouldn't have notes. I can guarantee that.
Correct.
Let's see. So I'm going to start off with part 4 being my least favorite, and I already forgot what happened in that because they don't have episode titles, so it's hard for me.
I just described it to you, Ryan. Was it not up to
I was busy remembering part 5. So part 4 was the path. Was that the path?
The Fortress Inquisitorius.
Oh yeah. So the fortress just it had a lot of stuff from Clone Wars and Rebels in it, and I've said it before, I don't really watch those shows, so it was hard for me to kind of pick up and know exactly what was going on. That's my fault, obviously, for not watching those 2 shows. But just it felt a little dry and just not as much action as the other ones to me. I don't know. Just it felt like it kind of stalled for number 4.
See, if you were Paul, Ryan, I'd be getting on your case about not watching the shows.
Everyone's on my case for not watching it, and I've tried. I just can't. I don't know what it is. I just lose interest so quick.
Oh, well. So, Paul, do you want to go next with your number 6?
I was hoping that everybody else would go, so then I could just mooch off the end. So my in last place is part 4 as well, Fortress Inquisitorius.
It doesn't actually have a title name.
It's called The Most Unfortress Fortress. That's what it's called.
Right.
So, yeah, I think when we did our review, I struggled real bad with it just because, like, everything was just so convenient. Nothing really made sense. Why do they have windows in an underwater base? that isn't blaster proof. Come on. The whole heist kind of idea that Tala was just like whispering away on, like the whole heist kind of idea when there's somebody sat like 4 feet away from her, and the guy was just like, "Oh, this is totally fine." Just the logic. I thought there was cool bits. Like I liked the set design of the actual fortress itself, but they were just so lax. There's like no defenses to it or anything, and like you were saying, the poor disguises, like walking out with a wee child walking about in your coat. It was just like something you'd see in the pictures or something like that. And I thought the snow speeders looked really weird. I didn't think they looked good.
Yeah.
But I'm sure there's something positive in there somewhere.
I like the Jedi. I like the Jedi tombs.
Yeah, true. Yeah.
I didn't like them, but it was an interesting aspect of the episode.
Yeah. Do we know anyone else that was in except for Terra Sunubi?
I think Ice Cube's son's wife is with one of them.
Oh, you said that, didn't you? Sorry, Ryan, I cut you off there. What are you saying?
What's that?
I cut you off there by accident when
I was just saying, I always forget about that Jedi tomb, and that was probably the best part of the episode, just seeing what they're doing with the Jedi that they captured. They're actually like preserving them and, well, killing them, but like preserving them for some kind of experiment, most likely. So that was just cool to see. And the Terra Nube thing, I don't know who he is, so it didn't really.
Oh,
He's on Clone Wars.
Yeah, I figured.
Yeah. I liked seeing Obi-Wan start using the Force again, though, and when he was in like the interrogation room and he took out the 2 stormtroopers, and seeing Obi-Wan get back to himself, that was probably the most important part of this episode, was seeing Obi-Wan come back to himself. This is more an overall thing, but I think Obi-Wan just had a really good arc. See where he is in episode 1, so despondent, and then when he is at the end, really happy again. He had a really good character arc in the show.
Mm-hmm.
Most definitely, yes.
Yeah.
So my sixth place. I said third because it's going to be the third time that part 4 has been mentioned. So part 4 was also my least favorite. It was the only episode while watching it and after watching it, just feeling quite meh and like didn't quite enjoy it. I think because the whole episode was basically just him going on to the base to rescue Leia again, and it just didn't really feel like it wasn't a great follow-up to the episode before that had a lot of epic moments. And as you said, there is a lot of like silly moments, like when Tala's on the space phone and the people around her aren't even paying attention to the fact she's helping Obi-Wan break on. So it was the only episode that, and it's not a complete failure. Like the bit about the tomb and Obi-Wan's redemptive arc and seeing things that I've not yet seen in Fallen Order because I've just rebought it for the PlayStation. But I'm sure one day I'll see them in the game and be like, "Oh, I saw them in part 4."
I think the PS7 will be it by the time you get that far.
What's that?
I think the PS7 will be it by the time you get that far.
Yeah, I will. I'll get there. I've got summer holidays coming up. So it wasn't unwatchable. It just had a lot of silly moments and was a wee bit disappointing in the context of the show.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
When you're expecting like a lot more from, because it's such a well anticipated show, and there's like so many people working on it that, like Deborah Chow and stuff, like director wise, you think they pick up on these things that when you watch it back, you're thinking this is really weird.
Mm-hmm.
Just like to add that a couple of people watching at the moment, if anyone wants to give their views on our picks or give us their sixth place, if anyone wants to go through the rankings with us, we would love to hear other people's thoughts. It'd be quite interesting to see what other people placed the episodes.
Or give us a views, one of either or.
Right, and it'd be cool to hear who is on. There's 3 people watching right now, so comment on the post and let us know who's there. So Ryan, 5th position.
Let's see. 5th was a toss-up for me, and just because it was going to be in sequential order, I switched it up a little bit. Episode 2 is my 5th spot, or part 2, I should say. It just because I don't know. I feel like it didn't really fit with him being on like and again, I forget the name. Is it Dayu?
Yeah.
Yeah. So like, it just seemed like very out of place for Obi-Wan to be there, and I don't think Flea is that good of an actor. So it just seemed clunky with his part, and apart from the end where he finds out that Anakin's still alive and he has this kind of showdown with Riva, it's just it's advancing the story, but it was just kind of slow. I think they had so much on that last bit where it captured me a little more than the last episode, but just it didn't do much for me.
That last bit when he finds out Vader's alive, that's in like top 10 Star Wars moments, I'd say.
Yep, absolutely.
Yep, it's pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
And was it Inquisitor? Is that the one that Inquisitor got stabbed as well, wasn't it? The Grand Inquisitor.
Yeah.
Right.
So that's Ryan's. It's part 2. Paul, what was your 5th position?
Mine was part 3. This is probably high up in probably everybody else's because of the Vader fight at the end, but I thought like the episode as a whole was pretty drab. I didn't really enjoy like the planet they're on. It was just kind of like your dust ball kind of planet. It was just very nondescript, and the logic for most of the episodes was what kind of annoyed me throughout the show. Well, not annoyed me, but just kind of took me out of it. I like watching things and I can kind of get a sense of it. But like, I think some of us spoke about it, was like when he's at a checkpoint and he takes out about 5 stormtroopers, like no problem. And then as soon as Tala turns up the transport and just 3 pop out, he's like, "Oh no, I give up.
I give up.
And I was just like, why? But it's just like convenience wise, because I had to show Tala save the day kind of thing. And I didn't really like Vader's fight. Like, I know, like Colin, I think you had problems with it as well when like the whole fire kind of sequence.
Don't try and spoil my rankings, Paul.
Right.
This is your opinion.
So yeah, the fire sequence kind of didn't really make sense to me, and that Vader was just like letting Obi-Wan go dead easy. And the fact that Reva was at the start of the tunnel and she didn't go down the tunnel, but Tala came back up the tunnel and didn't meet Reva, but Reva ended up at the other end of the tunnel. And
you think too much when you're watching things.
I do. See, before I started podcasting, I'd be like, cool.
See the things you're mentioning about like I don't even think that much like that deeply about the logistics.
No, see, I was watching it and I was like, right, Reva's going in the tunnel, and then like the next scene, Leia was like, "Oh, you need to go help Obi-Wan," so she runs back up the tunnel. I'm like, "Oh, Reva's going to capture Tala," and then next scene, Tala's saving Obi-Wan. I'm just like, where did Reva go? And it irks me, but I'm very cynical.
You are very cynical. Andrew Strachan from Twitter, I can see that you're watching. So what do you think about Paul's ramblings about part 3? It'd be interesting to hear.
Yeah, anyway, so I know it sounds like I really hated it, but
you did really hate it. Just let the hate flow through you.
Yeah. Anyway, go. It's your turn, number 5, because I'm just gonna.
I'm with Ryan on this one. I've got part 2 as my 5th place. And it wasn't because I hated it, but Paul, obviously I watched the first 2 episodes at your house when I was deathly allergic to your dogs. And that's not the reason that I've got this one in that position. I just feel like part of it was because it was a lot shorter, because we watched the really epic first episode and really quite a bit longer. and it was shorter, and it was very like small in scale, and they were just kind of walking about Dayu doing the chasing. There were some really nice moments between Obi-Wan and Leia talking about Padme and Anakin, and there were some nice bits. In the bit at the end where Obi-Wan finds out that Anakin's alive and Ewan McGregor's acting in that scene. It's not a bad episode at all. I just feel it was quite, because it was a follow-up to the introduction episode, it just wasn't as good as that, but it was still good. Am I making sense here?
Yeah.
I hope I'm making sense. It was just quite small in scale. I thought there'd be maybe more. I didn't really expect this episode, same as part 4, to just be in the one place for the whole episode. I thought they would maybe jump about a wee bit more, because part 1 went from Tatooine to Alderaan, so there was a bit of a transition between planets. So yeah, don't dislike part 2, but I have got it in 5th place.
Yeah. Okay.
God, you're so nice. I'm a grudge.
We've got a Strachan comment. Our first comment of the podcast tonight. I always dissect things way too deeply, so I relate to PK's thoughts on the earlier episodes a lot. Watch Harry Potter ranking for evidence. Brackets, shameless plug. So thank you for plugging our joint podcast, Strachan. That was great.
Chamber of Secrets is still the best.
Chamber of Secrets is the best, but you also just ruined the Harry Potter podcast ranking.
Because I wasn't in it.
Yeah, that's because
you ruined it.
Were you not ill?
I was ill. I had COVID.
Mm-hmm. So I've lost track of where we are. So that was our 5th. So Ryan, you're up with your 4th position.
All right. So 4th, I'm going with part 3, and it's a lot of the same as what Paul said, and just like the Vader. I liked the Vader fight at the end. It just showed how much stronger Vader was compared to Obi-Wan, because Obi-Wan hasn't used the Force, hasn't used his lightsaber in 10 years or so. So it makes sense that he's rusty, but same kind of thing. Like Obi-Wan's running through this landfill type area, and all of a sudden Vader's right in front of him, kind of like a Jason Voorhees kind of thing. And like, no matter how fast you run, he's going to be there. Same thing with Reva. All of a sudden she's there. And then with the fire too, I don't understand why he couldn't just use the Force to kind of crush the robot or the droid and then pick Obi-Wan up and just, bring him along for the ride. I don't understand that logic. Just
because plot.
Oh, because plot. All right. So he likes the cat and mouse game. That's what my wife said. So
that robot had a lot of plot armor.
Yeah. So other than that, I mean, yeah, just kind of the same stuff. And what redeemed it was the Vader Obi-Wan fight, seeing them for the first time together, and just watching Obi-Wan get kind of not wrecked, but wrecked, just because he's old, he's rusty, he's not used to it. So, and Anakin's been training forever, so that redeemed it for me.
Yeah. The only thing that annoyed me about that was I was expecting there to be a lot more meaningful dialogue.
Oh yeah,
between the two of them, and it just wasn't.
They saved that for a different episode.
I know, but probably it's the first time they've met in 10 years, and it's just like there just wasn't anything of substance there.
Yeah,
How would you react if you saw me for the first time in 10 years?
I'm like telling you, I'd be effing blinding, effing under the sun, telling you how I hate you, and how I'm going to slice you up.
You'd probably just be moaning about minor inconsistencies and weird plot elements of TV shows.
But angrily.
I'd be interested to hear your 4th spot, Paul, because you've had part 4 and then part 3, so it makes me interested to what your next one's going to be.
Oh yeah, it's been tough. I would probably go.
Well, you can't say probably go. You're supposed to have this hemmed in. You don't just make it up as you go along.
Right. I will definitely probably go part 1. So I'm going part 1 because like it started off like epic with the Order 66. I thought that was awesome. But then obviously, like, I know the pacing was a wee bit slow for me. but obviously they're setting up the story, and I don't actually mind it. I really like this episode. It was just a wee bit slow for me, because I'm all about action and explosions. That's the stuff that keeps my attention. See, like plot and like story and all that. I'm like, ugh. But it was cool to see how he was getting on, like see him like crushed and despondent. But this was the one where Leia got chased through the woods, wasn't it?
Yes.
Mhm.
Oh, worst chase scene ever. It was so like, it's just so amateur. Like people running at twigs and they're like, oh, can't get past it. But
my brain just doesn't. I just don't recognize these things. When I have to, someone else has to mention that before I would even think about it. I just kind of watch.
Oh, see, I noticed it right away too. It was bad.
Yeah, and it was like they could have literally caught her like straight away, but they wait for her to run past them and they're like shepherding her away.
Right. I don't know if you've ever chased a toddler, but it's kind of like that, where you're kind of like not really running at all. You're just kind of stomping in place. That's what it seemed like.
Yeah.
But overall, it was a really good episode. Like this is where it starts to get into wee minor things for my top ones. So I'm going to go episode part 1 for my number 4.
Well, Ryan, if we were a band, we would be in sync. Because I see, going last, you have loads of time to make up really corny jokes for when you start speaking. My 4th place is also part 3. So me and Ryan have got the exact same ranking so far, which is quite interesting.
Ooh, friend.
I've got a slight Star Wars American friend. Do you know that you might know the In-Betweeners out in America, because they made a really bad remake of the In-Betweeners, which was awful.
Yeah, I think that was on MTV over here or something like that.
Don't judge the In-Betweeners brand on that. That was awful.
I didn't even watch
it. Yeah, don't. Just never watch it. Never watch it. If you come across the British version, definitely watch it.
Gotcha. That's good. So I've got slightly different views on part 3. The only bits I found the fight quite underwhelming. I think it was like the camera angles, because they zoomed out quite a lot, and then there was like real close-ups. I prefer when just the way they filmed the fights more in the prequels or the original trilogy, a bit more dynamic. And the bit, I don't know, see, when I was watching the bit with the fire and stuff, I just remember having that, that feeling when you're watching an episode of something you're supposed to love, and you're just like, I'm not enjoying this as much as I thought I would. And I think, Paul, even though I downvoted you earlier, I think the lack of the dialogue was something that maybe impacted on that as well.
Yeah.
See, apart from that, though, I did enjoy. I enjoyed the episode. Like, I enjoyed seeing Anakin's, like, when he saw like a vision of Anakin and his Jedi cloak. Despite JD's character being very cartoonish, I really liked the conversation between Obi-Wan and Leia on the transport, when Obi-Wan for the first time spoke about his childhood and how he had a brother. And I'm just a big sucker for any conversation about Padme and Anakin with Obi-Wan. And see, when they were doing the build-up to Vader's appearance in the episode, I watched it with my dad. He came down to watch it, and it was just so, I was proper just on edge, waiting for the moment when he saw Vader for the first time, and when he looks out that window and you can see him, he's like having an actual panic attack. And Ewan McGregor actually said that he was actually scared when he saw Vader for the first time. So I think the actual conclusion, like the fight, but see the build up to the fight, and I really enjoyed the quieter moments on the transport earlier in the episode.
How daft was the stormtrooper bit though?
Yes, okay, Paul. Let you focus on the wee silly things you don't like. I'll focus on the dialogue that I do like.
Okay, sorry. That's why I make a good team. I'm just the negative one, the positive one.
It'd be boring if we always agreed. Red. So that was my number 4. I'm really glad I got to make that in sync joke because
great. I loved it.
Especially making it to an American, that makes it a lot more like.
We love our sync over here, so it's anytime you mention it, we're gonna like it.
Justin Timberlake.
Steven signing off the episode. Can you go bye bye bye?
Yes.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Ryan, here a fun fact. I've actually seen Justin Timberlake live in Scotland.
You have.
Uh-huh.
See, that's impressive. He never comes near my area, so like I have to go to like New York City or Philly or something like a really big.
Hey! Sorry, Paul will get the reference.
I hate Philly.
You get the reference, don't you?
How I Met Your Mother.
Philly.
Oh yeah.
Right. So Ryan, you're third place. So you've got part 4, part 2, part 3, exact same as me. You're part 3. You're number 3.
So this one was really hard, the top 3, because I like them all almost equally. So I had to nitpick. So I took a page out of Paul's book here. And I went with part 1. Just because I love seeing him on Tatooine and kind of what he's been up to. He's literally keeping an eye on Luke. Kind of creepy a little bit, but just he's making sure he's safe. And I like seeing the relationship between him and Owen Lars. They both want to protect Luke, but they have different methods on how they should be protecting him. And I'm really glad Joel Edgerton came back for this role because he does a phenomenal job as playing a young Owen Lars. Like I could see how he would age into the character that he was in episode 4, or in A New Hope. I don't want to confuse people with part 4 and episode 4 and all this stuff.
If people are watching this podcast, I hope they know that A New Hope is episode 4.
I would think, but you know what they say about assuming. So I don't want to do that. But yeah, just overall, I like seeing what he's up to. He's at a meat harvesting factory or something or others, like a space whale or something. But yeah, just that and seeing Bail Organa again. The only part I didn't like, and this is what brought it down a little bit, is the fact that he didn't find Leia equally as important as Luke. It just seemed weird that he wasn't more concerned about where Leia was. He was more concerned about doing his job. If anything, they should have just switched spots. Bail Organa should have watched over Luke while Obi-Wan went to go look for Leia. But that's just a little thing. What's that?
What plot?
What
Yeah.
plot?
What's that, Paul?
I was like, if I was Obi-Wan and Jimmy Smits dropped the ball, I'd be like, hey, I've done my job. You worry about yourself.
Right.
Do you know what I think about that though? Is I don't think it wasn't he didn't care about Leia. I think he was given that really specific role. Like that was his role to go to Tatooine. But Obi-Wan's always been very keen on like promises. Like obviously he promised Qui-Gon he'd train Anakin. So I think Obi-Wan just takes. I don't think he meant any disrespect or.
No, I'm not saying that either. Yeah, it was just like, I don't know. It seemed like he should be more concerned. You know what I mean? I'm not saying he should just drop everything, go find Leia, but he should just be a little more concerned about where she is because she's also Force sensitive Anakin's kid. So,
do you think he was scared to go out into the world after hiding away after 10 years?
What's that?
I think he's maybe just kind of too scared to go into the world after 10 years hiding away. He's thought maybe he's like, I'll just stay here. I don't really want to go out there in case he gets caught.
Right.
I don't know.
Yeah, I think a big part of it was that he was so weak and so disillusioned and depressed that he didn't want to go and do it. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, fair. So, like I said, I'm just trying to nitpick and justify where I ranked it. But I loved the episode overall. I thought it was a great intro episode to the show. So, I don't hate it.
That's a good quote. I don't hate it.
I don't hate it.
Paul, you're up for number 3, and I think I might know what it is, but I'll let you go because it's yours.
No, okay. Nah, tell me what's it going to be?
I think it's part 2.
Oh, it's part 6.
Is that your fake out?
Just part 2. Yeah, part 2. That's kind of like Ryan. It's kind of nitpicky stuff now, but I actually like the change of scenery because, like, we've just been through the book of Boba Fett, where it's just been like Tatooine, dust, sand. So it's quite nice to be in a kind of civilized area. It kind of reminded me of. You ever seen the Ghost in the Shell movie? The Scarlett Johansson.
Mm-mm.
Kind of like that. Just kind of creature. It says lots of neon. And I quite liked seeing Obi-Wan like get his hand-to-hand combat in, and you kind of see the bit of seediness where they've got the kind of club and they've got like a drugs lab and all that kind of stuff. That's the kind of stuff you don't really see in Star Wars except for the Death Sticks.
Right.
And I really like that. Although it does have the second worst chase scene in history.
Did you like seeing the veteran?
Yeah, I thought maybe he was going to have some more to do with it, but it was just kind of nice, wee neat Easter egg, wasn't it?
Mm-hmm.
I thought he was going to like recognize him, like, that's the general.
Oh yeah, that would have been good.
And then he'd like, go home, man, you're drunk.
With hindsight, I didn't know it was Ewan McGregor's daughter at the time, but he actually says, I did a rewatch of sorts, and he said to her, like, I'm looking for my daughter. Like, he was pretending Leia was his daughter, and it's his real life daughter, which was quite interesting.
Yeah, and she said something like, everyone's someone's daughter, or something like that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I would say number 2 for me. It was a good solid episode, I thought, and like you're saying at the end, with the kind of revelation that Reva knew Anakin was Darth Vader, and then the kind of shock of the Grand Inquisitor getting stabbed. So yeah, number 2. Although Reva's hardcore parkour did take her a while to get there, and she missed the fight. There was some cool creature designs actually, wasn't there? With the kind of dinosaur guy.
Yeah.
The Velociraptor.
That was a bit out there.
Definitely. But yeah, my number 3 is part 2.
Cool. Well, my number 3, Ryan, we are like-minded here. I'm part 1 as well.
Perfect.
And like yourself, I loved it. I had just the prequel montage at the very start of the episode. I said to Paul, I was like,
"Oh yeah,
that'd have done me. See if that had just been the show, just that one montage. I was quite happy with that. I loved the Order 66 beginning. That really just thrust you right into the action. Seeing Obi-Wan, although it was sad to see him so sad, I was, what's the word? Pleasantly surprised about seeing Alderaan, and then seeing Bail Organa. I thought young Leia was fantastic throughout the show.
Yeah, she was.
Before, maybe outstayed her welcome a wee bit in places, but I think she stuck the landing and justified her inclusion at the end. What we also said, I was really pleased, and what we spoke about at the time, that the reason for Obi-Wan coming off Tatooine had to be Leia. Like, there couldn't really have been another reason. So that worked quite well plot-wise. We had our issues with Reva in the first couple of episodes, and I think she overcooked it a bit in this when she was doing the bit at the marketplace when she was trying to find the Jedi. But looking back, it was a bit of an act because she wasn't full evil as we thought. So there isn't really a lot I can say about this episode, and I just enjoyed it. It's in third place just because I feel like my top 2 had the higher highs, but there wasn't really many particular lows in this episode.
Yep.
So yeah, my number 3 is part 1.
Awesome. You and Ryan are just like you and Ryan should just do the show together. You're like so in sync.
Well, what's funny is we talked before this and we excluded you, so that way you would be the odd man out.
Well, damn you.
Paul, don't get jealous. Green doesn't suit you. Right. So Ryan, you're be interesting. This is the moment where I'll find out whether we have the exact same ranking or not. But I'm not going to let my face betray it.
All right. So I'm gonna go with part 5, and the reason being for that is I think that's the one Tala died, right? Is that was
Yeah.
okay. So it just felt like the story really picked up there, and I hate this 6 episode stuff they've been doing because I feel like in order to tell a story they need 8 or 10. 6 just seems too short, and it was the same thing with Boba Fett, but that's when all the action started happening for me. Tala sacrificed herself just like all the, resistance people and all the rebel people before her. And then the Darth Vader fight with Reva was one of the best things I've ever seen in Star Wars because it was so different. It was just he embarrassed her. It was him using the Force. He broke apart her lightsaber and just tossed her half as if to say, "Yeah, let's do it." And just it showed Vader being the Vader that we all have in our minds, which is amazing. He catches the ship before it leaves, and I know I'm just focusing on the last 10 minutes or so, but that really made the episode for me. And but my one criticism about it is the same thing as the fire from episode 3. He catches the one, or he holds the one spaceship, but then the other one just kind of flies away, and he can't just switch and grab that one too. It doesn't make sense. But other than that, I love the episode, and seeing Obi-Wan kind of plan a little bit using that lightsaber duel from episode 2, or kind of episode 2-ish, just as a framing device and showing how they're what's the word I want here? Playing cat and mouse against each other. It's just it made the show for me with that, and it helps set up the best episode for me, which is obvious. But yeah, I just really loved episode 5.
We spoke about the spaceship scene. We kind of worked it out by saying that the effort to take the one down was a lot, so maybe he wouldn't have had it in him to do a second one. I don't know.
Right.
Yeah.
I heard that too, but
down.
yeah, at the same time though, then he just uses the Force throughout the entire lightsaber fight. So
It's very true, actually. Very true.
But plot.
Yeah, maybe it's just less effort to do that as opposed to catching a spaceship. I don't know, but
Spaceships are heavy.
Yeah. So, like I said, I just love that episode. It was great.
Very nice. Right, Paul. Let's see where you have fallen. So you've obviously got 6 and 5 still in play. It just depends on the order. So it's interesting to see if you follow Ryan or not.
I am following Ryan. I'm going part 5 as well. Pretty much the same kind of idea as Ryan. A lot more action. I was feeling pretty despondent after episodes 3 and 4, and I was like, it really needs to pick up. And number 5 brought me back right into the fold. The flashbacks alone were like great seeing them, and I'm glad they didn't do CGI for it. I was okay with them just kind of doing it the way they did it with practical, and yeah, I really liked it the way they kept switching back and forth. It was a shame to see Tala die, and was it Ned B? Was that the droid?
Yeah.
See on the topic of droids, is no one going to ask me about my username today?
I was going to ask that actually, and I forgot.
Right, quite an interesting fact, and it relates to part 3. Star Wars did a competition where people could design their own droid, and this girl won, and her droid design was created practically and put into part 3.
Where was it?
It was with Ned B in part 3 when he was doing his manual work. It was like a wee droid beside it, and you'd have to look it up. But
that's cool.
I saw the article, so I was like, I'll just give KP1 a wee shout out. There's a video, I think I shared it on Facebook, Paul. just about the competition and about the process of creating the droid. You should check it out.
All right, no, I didn't see that. Nice. I did not know that.
Sorry, I was waiting on you to give me a chance to explain my username, but I just thought it
Yeah. So you waited right until the middle of my pick.
Yeah,
Here.
it was relevant. It was the relevant point.
Right, so where was I?
Talk about droids.
Talk about droids. Tala died. I thought it was cool, like when you first see Reva and Obi-Wan talk, and like basically discovers that she's basically trying to get Vader for what he done. I just don't understand. I don't know why they didn't team up on it. Like I thought they were going to team up on it, but obviously he had to run away. So, but like I think you were saying, like we did say, we thought it was maybe the strain that can catch a ship. But now that Ryan says that, he was pretty nifty with the Force stopping Reva. So there was a lot of Vader just missing and not really bothering about it. Whereas Reva lets him go from Fortress as Inquisitorius, and he's just like, "You're dead." But what was I going to say? See, in this series, do you think there's like a very distinct lack of TIE fighters?
Yeah, you've mentioned that a few times.
Ever. Because, like, anytime like they're just always flying away somewhere, and there's never any air cover. It's just like, oh well, they're gone. But part 5 really brought me back into it. I really did enjoy it. The action was really good. I liked that Obi-Wan, like you see him a lot more, probably more in the series than anywhere else, like blocking blaster bolts and actually using them to his advantage rather than seeing the odd one here and there in the movies. Is Tala's holster significant in any way, like to the other Star Wars? No.
I think it was just to show that they got me
Remember.
bond.
Right, okay, I wasn't sure because I was like, because you see things like odds that appear somewhere else in the universe, but I just haven't noticed. Because she was wearing it in the last episode, and I was like, well, maybe it's significant in some way. But anyway, I'm digressing. So yeah, part 5 for me.
The worst part about going third is you guys you end up talking about a lot of the main bits that I was going to mention that, but yeah, that's fine. Actually, Ryan, our runs came to an end. I actually put part 6 second. I've got a few reasons for it. I did really enjoy the finale. Seeing our boy Qui-Gon again, seeing Big Sheev, the fight between Obi-Wan and Anakin, particularly the dialogue when the helmet got broken. That bit about you didn't kill Anakin Skywalker, I did, like chilling, and some of the best dialogue and acting. Definitely a top 5 Star Wars moment. I said the other one was top 10. I'd say that's top 5 moments there. My main gripe with the episode, and I know Paul is in agreement with me because we've had this conversation, I think Reva's part of this episode brought it down a wee bit for me. I wasn't really interested in her chasing Luke about the desert because we knew that she was never going to succeed. Her motivations didn't make a lot of sense. I think she did know. I don't know where I know this from, but I think she did know that it was Anakin's child. I don't know how, because it wasn't really specifically said. But anyway, I just feel like the segues into Reva's part of the episode is what put it second for me. But there was so much great stuff with I'm a sucker for an Obi-Wan Leia scene. See their scene when he describes Padme and Anakin again, and Leia says, "We'll ever see you again," like Anakin in Phantom Menace. It was really great. So yeah, great finale. And the more I talk about this, I think the series was a hit for me. Like it's a bit mixed on the internet in general, some of the reviews I watched, but I think the pluses well outweighed the negatives.
Fair enough.
So yeah, I went for part 6 again, mainly because the Reva storyline. I've liked Reva really a lot in part 5, which spoilers is my first. But I think part 6 it was a bit meh.
No, I'm really hoping when Ryan comes on that he can shed some light on it, because I'm still confused at what she was all about.
Confused about what?
What Reva was all about, what she was doing.
Oh yeah, with episode 6.
Yeah.
Oh well, we might as well get into it then, right? So obviously episode 6 is my favorite, and it wasn't so much because of Reva or like her storyline, like Colin said, just kind of, we found out what she was doing. She was trying to get back at Vader. She figured out that Anakin killed all the younglings and became Vader, all that stuff. And then we knew she wasn't going to succeed. So like episode 6, her whole plot didn't really matter to me, because I knew the Larses weren't going to die. I knew Luke wasn't going to die. So I wasn't watching for that part. I was watching for, hopefully the rest of it. And the reason why number 6 is my favorite is the dialogue, like you said, between Vader and Obi-Wan. Fantastic. You see the helmet kind of shatter, and I have seen this one part in Rebels with Ahsoka,
Great
and
episode.
you see the same thing. So of the few episodes I've seen, that was one of them. And just seeing that and seeing Obi-Wan's, kind of, he's horrified of what Anakin's become, and realizing that Vader killed Anakin, which makes a new hope. So, makes it so he's not lying, I guess. And just the scene where kind of Obi-Wan gets his mojo back and starts really sparring with Vader to make him use both hands, because I don't know if you noticed, Vader didn't use both hands at all on his lightsaber until that very last fight. So it showed that Obi-Wan's kind of back. And then just and I hate this term, the chef's kiss of the episode is Qui-Gon coming back. And that's how much I liked it, where I use that phrase that I cannot stand. That made the entire series, because I was waiting for that forever. Ever since he woke up in episode 1 asking if Qui-Gon was there or anything, reaching out and not hearing anything. For Qui-Gon to hear him and just know that he's not ready yet, it reminded me a lot of the prequels, and it just I'm getting chills just talking about it. I love seeing Liam Neeson back. So just nostalgia purposes, him meeting young Luke for the first time and saying the hello there. Just overall, I absolutely loved that episode. And you said you think this is a hit. This is my favorite Star Wars show. Like I think it's better than Mandalorian. It was way better than Boba Fett. This is the pinnacle of Star Wars show for me. So I loved it. Episode 6 is absolutely my favorite.
That may be an interesting podcast to potentially do, even though you've ruined your first choice. we could have ranked some of the shows. I thought quite a good one to do would be ranking this on a segue, but ranking the Disney Plus, Marvel, and Star Wars shows together. I thought could be quite interesting.
There you go.
It would require Paul to go and watch some things that he's not watched. So, but we're in a position where we all know our first places. Ryan spoke very lovingly about part 6, which is his first choice. Paul, do you want to talk about why you chose part 6, and then I'll counter with why I chose part 5?
Yeah. It was definitely the fight scene. For me, it was the kind of clincher. Just really choreographed well. I liked that like everyone's kind of powers were like dialed up to 11, like the force powers and stuff. Like they were like picking up rocks and like chucking them miles away and stuff, and pushing each other for miles. I didn't really care for the kind of goodbyes that much. As kind of, it's not really my thing.
What?
I know. It's just, I don't know. It was okay. Like, it was okay. The whole Reva thing I could really do without. I was saying this Colin, I think, in the last episode.
Are you sure this is your first choice, by the way?
It is my first choice. Like the fight scene was epic, right? The fight scene was epic. Just try to think. I'd have liked it to have been more epic if they'd killed Reva off in the last episode and spent more time on the fight and less time for this other story. Do you know, I think it's weird though, like watching a show and knowing like there aren't many stakes involved. Like the only person that could possibly have died in that whole episode would have been Reva, and that was it.
I'm sure we discussed that when we reviewed it, but I think we also said we've kind of been grown to that because of the prequels. Like we always knew roughly who was coming and going.
Yeah, I don't know. I just find it a weird kind of concept because, like, you know, there's no jeopardy. Like, even when Reva's going to the homestead, you know, like, oh, Beru and Lars are going to be fine. Like, so Reva's not going to take them out, kind of thing.
You didn't know Reva could have perished there, so there was that.
Yeah, that's what I say. She's the only one in jeopardy. But yeah, it was definitely the fight scene for me. The dialogue, just the kind of the way they showed it with the red and the blue on Vader's face when he's kind of struggling with his personas and his voice keeps changing. I thought that was great. And the wee Papa Palpatine cameo at the end as well. That was it's quite funny though. It's just like he wasn't really say. I thought it'd be pure mad that Obi-Wan got away, but he was just like, no. You seem to care a bit too much about him.
It does lead into Palpatine's other hologram appearance in Empire, where he's talking about Vader's feelings, how Anakin's sort of coming back and how he cares about his son. So it does tie into some of the bits in the original trilogy.
Yeah, true. All right, okay, I'll say it. The goodbyes were actually okay. The hello there was pretty good.
Obi-Wan and Leia scenes, man. Just talk to you.
I will say, and I know it's a lot of people have this complaint. She's not supposed to know he's Obi-Wan, right? Like, I'm not crazy in thinking that.
Who?
Leia. So Leia knows he's Obi-Wan, but like when Obi-Wan dies in A New Hope, she does not care at all. She just sees an old guy die. That's it. So like I feel like they kind of messed that up just slightly. I liked it, but it's just compared to A New Hope, she should have more of a reaction.
See, look at it this way though. Luke cared more about Obi-Wan's death than about his aunt and uncle. Like he was just I'm going to go become a Jedi now.
Fair, yeah.
So,
yeah.
I think
it must be hard making a show when everything's all mapped out the way it is, isn't it? And to make it compelling enough for things to happen.
Right. I can live with it because I don't think the show could have existed without it. Because as we said earlier, I don't think there was anything else that had taken him off planet.
Yeah. Or just you see if you like I can't speak. Any of you listen to the Wheel of Horror episode on the final episode?
Not yet. No.
One of the guys, Justin, he skipped towards the end to see how long the episode actually was, to see like how long the credits were going to be, and he skipped to the end, and he skipped to the point where Qui-Gon appeared, and he spoiled it for himself before the whole thing.
That's brutal.
I was actually walking the dogs, and I was like, no. How gutted would you have been?
I know. Right, here's my chance for my loving with part 5, which obviously you like because you have it in second place. You've mentioned a lot of the big bits, the bit with the spaceship, Vader's fight without his lightsaber was amazing. Another bit I really liked was Obi-Wan's complete look of horror when he realized the comlink communication device had been dropped and that Reva or Vader would be able to get to Luke. I like that bit, but it was more, see the first 10-15 minutes of the episode, I said to you at the time, Paul, I was a bit worried. I was like, if I don't want to, after part 4, I didn't want it to just be another episode where they're on this base. There's maybe a bit of a skirmish with stormtroopers, but see when Reva got involved and the conversation between Reva and Obi-Wan at the door was one of the best parts of the whole show for me, where they're talking about, and they use the terms younglings and Order 66, and Obi-Wan's just basically crying that when he's thinking about it all, and when Obi-Wan, as you said, starts playing his mind games, and he says, "You're not taking me to him, I'm taking him to you," or something like that. And Obi-Wan uses the line, "There's other ways to fight," which is the line from, or not the exact line from, when they're getting pulled in by the tractor beam in A New Hope. He says there are alternatives to fighting. I really like that line. And as you said earlier, again, the flashback duel between Anakin and Obi-Wan and how that became the kind of narrative for the whole episode. Yeah, the finale was great. Reva's bit let it down, but I thought Reva was really strong in this episode, which made it better for me, because as I said, the conversation that was up there with Obi-Wan finding out Anakin's alive, the half mask scene, and the Leia scenes. They're like probably my highlights of the whole show.
Yeah, I agree.
So that's my pitch.
Yeah.
I just felt overall it was a stronger episode than 6, because there wasn't a weak bit to it. It all quite flowed nicely together.
Yeah, it was kind of a toss up, wasn't it? Really, when you kind of think about it, it's just wee nitpicky things, because Obi-Wan's fight with Vader was epic, but also Reva's fight with Vader was epic, but in a different way.
Right. You watch the show and you're watching it for Obi-Wan, so I feel like the Obi-Wan fight takes precedence over Reva's fight with Vader. They're both equally good.
But you had younger Obi-Wan and Anakin, and you had Obi-Wan knowing his chess moves. I don't know. I feel like this had just as much Obi-Wan and Vader without them meeting, and sometimes when they're not meeting, it's better, because I don't know, sometimes the anticipation is better than the payoff when it comes to these things.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Right. Well, I think we're all Obi-Wan'd out. I'm not going to say I'm relieved. I think some of our listeners will be relieved, because it's just been all Star Wars things for the last few weeks. But we did say, Paul, that we love our listeners and we really appreciate everybody. But getting into the podcasting was for us. And Ryan, I'm sure it's the same for you. It's about talking about things you enjoy and that you're really passionate about. And we got a nice wee comment from Strachan there that his favourite episode was 6, but he said that I made a compelling case for 5. They were his 2 favourites. So thank you, Strachan. Thank you for the nice comment, and thanks for sticking out with us for over an hour now.
Yeah.
So where do we go from here? A wee bit of a Star Wars hiatus for us, Paul?
Until Andor in August.
Yeah, not too long. I think no more Star Wars content in July, which I'm quite sad about. Unless, Ryan, you want us to come on and talk with you, that's like a loophole where we can still talk some Star Wars.
I was gonna say you can't come on mine and not talk about Star Wars. So I mean, absolutely, whatever you guys want to talk about, I'm down to have you two on.
I saw a good idea on other YouTube stations and ranking the live action movies and shows. So Boba Fett, Mandalorian, Obi-Wan in with the films.
Mm-hmm.
I would be sure your podcast, but that's something I'd be delighted to be involved with.
Yeah, that would be good. I was also thinking like top 10 Jedi, or just Force users in general, or anything like that. So
lightsaber duels.
What's that?
Like top 10 lightsaber duels?
Yeah. Oh, top 10 lightsaber duels. That's a good one. I think that's we can
do moments, because you're talking about your top 10 moments in all of Star Wars. You could do moments.
Yeah. Well,
that would be tough too.
Yeah.
You guys have great ideas. You need to write for my podcast, if anything.
We've got too much time in our hands. I don't actually have too much time in my hands. That's actually untrue. So I think that brings us to a close. So this is live streamed, obviously, but we're going to promote it to anyone who wants to listen that hasn't listened to it yet. And it will become available in audio, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts over the next couple of days. Paul, we're going to trial 2 in one night. So we're going to do a recorded podcast straight after this. It was your choice. What's the movie?
Adam Sandler's Hustle.
Oh.
Which I watched just before recording. So we're going to record that today, and then we're going to post that. Did we say Monday, Paul?
Yeah,
Monday.
We would say
Monday. Post that Monday. Try and get back into our 2-a-week rhythm.
Yeah. Have you seen Hustle, Ryan?
I haven't. It came on what it released last week.
I think it's last week or week before. I think it's been out a couple of weeks.
Yeah,
But-
I've been meaning to watch it, so I have plenty of time over the summer. It's on my list to watch.
Yeah.
I'm not into my basketball, but I really enjoyed it. Like, really enjoyed it.
I'm not going to say anything right now. Don't want to ruin the review. But
Gotcha.
yeah, I liked it.
Good.
So,
I love basketball, so I'm super excited to watch it.
actually made me want to start watching and playing basketball, which was weird.
I can't imagine you playing basketball. You know?
Played basketball in my life.
Basketball's not too popular over there.
Draken plays basketball.
There you go.
Who's your team? Right?
NBA's weird. I just like players, so like Carmelo, LeBron, all those guys, all the old school guys. Now I like all of them. I'm more into college basketball. Syracuse Orange, weird mascot, but they're my team. So I love basketball. It's huge over here, so we love it.
You definitely like Hustle. There's so many cameos in it. Like, I knew a couple, but I think there's like a ton of them in it.
Yeah, I know the guy is an actual NBA player, so it's definitely on my list. After I finish Umbrella Academy, I'm probably gonna hop over to that.
Is the guy an actual NBA player?
Yeah.
Is he? I did not know that.
Yeah. Jenky is just like some random guy that is a good actor.
I thought it was just acting and good at basketball.
I don't know if he's a great one, but he's definitely an NBA player.
Right, we didn't really get a chance at the start. We mentioned, do you want to tell any of our listeners about your podcast?
Yeah, so I just came back from I don't even know how long the hiatus was. It feels like it was 2 months, but it was right before Obi-Wan came on, so I could just sit and enjoy it. But I just posted my first episode back today, and it's just a review of what I thought of Obi-Wan. And in typical fashion, I forget to mention a bunch of things. So there might be a part 2 coming. I don't know, but I'm back. We're going to see how we do weekly. And if not, it'll switch to a bi-weekly thing. But I'm still going. So we're good.
Yeah, it's good to have you back. What days do you usually release? Is it Mondays you usually release it?
So before the hiatus, it was Tuesday or Wednesday, depending on when it was done editing. But today I just recorded and released it just to kind of get my feet back in the water kind of thing. So I don't know. It'll be whenever I get it done. We'll just go with that.
Good stuff. Good stuff. Because it's been a sad time the last few weeks not having your podcast to listen to.
Yeah, thank you. Appreciate it. But yeah, it's a nice distraction from things. So I'm glad to keep doing it.
I've listened to about half of your new one just earlier on today, so I'll get to the other half as well. I think when we hang this one up, though, we should maybe pencil in when we can do something for your podcast. I think that'd be interesting.
Yeah.
We could maybe just do one that week, Paul, so we're not stretching ourselves too much.
We never do.
Yeah. Right, so Ryan, thanks so much for joining in. It's been good to have you on. It was nice that we almost synced up in terms of the rankings.
Almost.
And I'm sure we'll get you on again when it comes to looking at Andor. And if you're ever coming down to Scotland, you can give us a shout. Paul, sorry to upset you, but Scarlett thought the basketball player was hot.
Oh, I thought you were talking about Ryan.
Oh, gee.
Right. We clock off then. Oh, Ryan, do you remember what our slogan is?
No, I don't. I don't remember.
Well, we are Seismic Cinema plus Ryan, and we believe in the power of escapism, particularly when it comes to doing Star Wars rankings.
I'm making a note of that now for next time.
Right. See you later.
Ryan. Nobody ever remembers it.
Right, that's us. Let's go.
And thanks for listening.
Thank you.